Benvenuti all'ennesimo appuntamento con Animaphix Streaming Experience. We are here with Volker. Your family name for me is always a problem in German, but Schlecht?
Schlecht.
Okay.
Yes.
That the audience of Animaphix already know, because Volker was winning the Grand Prix in 2017, and the next year in 2018 he was in jury and was also a retrospective about his job, his work in animation, and was one of the main guests in the festival. So a lot of people probably recognize him. Volker, how you meet animation, how you were involved in animation? It was like something that came by chance, or was something that you have the idea to do animation in your life? Animation, also the other things that you are doing. I know that you are also doing a lot of illustration, no?
Yes, it was a little bit by accident, or maybe it was part of my studies, but not the biggest part. I've studied graphic design with part of illustration and a smaller part of animation, but then I was, I was very interested in this, and I decided to make my graduation project as an animation film. And so I can say during my studies I focused more and more on that, or just I found that most exciting of the whole range of all these other themes or subjects in my studies.
You were studying in Halle University, no? In graphic and art. Okay.
Yes.
So Halle is a middle-sized town not far from Leipzig, no?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
More or less 300,000 inhabitants. But the
with a big cultural life,
very
no?
small. Sorry?
A big cultural life. We've developed cultural life, Halle.
Yes, the cultural life is a very it's more interesting than in other bigger cities, because you have a big university, a very old university, and you have the art university and many museums and a very old city center. So it's a provincial town on the one hand, on the other hand it's a very cultural town, yes.
So, and after you left Halle to come to Berlin, where you are living now.
Yes, yeah.
And you also studied in Babelsberg School, or you were teaching?
No, I was a teacher in Babelsberg.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But I mean, you have several films. I'm not for me it's not really clear your filmography, but we can say, I don't know if you agree, that you have two major films, like German Wurst and Kaputt.
Kaputt. Yes, these were the most successful, and one of the two more recent films. Yes.
Yeah, and also the longest film that you did, because both films are quite long, and I mean.
Yeah, Germania Wurst is the longest. It's more or less 11 minutes or something. Yeah.
So, and both of them are in some way can be put together in this little bit magmatic world of Annie Doc. Kaputt is Annie Doc because it's from interview of real persons that are talking about their experience. But in some way, as the definition of Annie Doc is something that really take a lot of things. We should talk a lot about this. Also, German Wurst is a sort of your personal view, but you were in any case linked to the history of Germany. So in some ways, also a sort of Annie Doc is something related to the real things.
Yeah, it's a kind of historical film. It's not a fiction. Yeah, so it's a non-fiction short. Yeah, so
I think we met during Leipzig when you were presenting this film.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably. But
Yeah.
this is not so interesting.
We met several times, also in
Yeah.
Dresden, I guess.
Yeah. Can you tell about something about the creative process of both these big film?
Okay. Yeah, the first one, the Germania Wurst, was developed during, I don't know, the process was very long. I've started with thinking about the whole story or the whole idea maybe when I've started the job in Potsdam, in Babelsberg. Then I had to make a project, so it was part of the job that you had time for your own artistic project. And that's why I've started to think about a new film in the beginning of 2002, or a little bit earlier. So,
Oh.
and I read many books before about German history. It came a little bit because of the German reunification and all this process. And so I had many stuff in my head to sort out and to organize. How can I do a film about that? So, and then I decided, yeah, let's try to make a 10-minute short about 2000 years of history and how
always with cutting worst.
yeah, and yes, and then I had this idea to have something to cut like a timeline, yeah, and this was this sausage then, yeah.
So
yeah.
it's interesting that's why I was thinking we're also studying after in Babelsberg, because I didn't know that in Babelsberg, in our Konrad Wolf University, when you are starting teaching, you have time to develop a project as teacher. I mean,
Yes.
you are
Yes.
already a teacher, but you have the time, and this is very interesting because you can have also the know-how, and everything that you have in Babelsberg can help you to make a new production. That because I saw that was Babelsberg production or a school, so this is very clever. I don't know if it is the same now. Is always the same. Everybody is doing a film when started to teach.
Yeah, I think so.
Did this.
It's the so-called artistic scientific assistant job there. It's on many universities that these teacher jobs are connected to an own project. Mostly in other universities, you would write your dissertation during that time.
Yeah, sort of thesis.
So this film was like, instead of becoming a doctor in a way, so like a PhD project. So
this is very, very nice.
Without a PhD in the end.
yeah. So and then you started also with this. Can you talk about a little bit about this Druzhba Pankov collective that is like a person? But what are you doing? What is the main activities and how you manage this firma, if I can call it like this?
Yeah, the main field is illustration. So we do illustrations for newspapers or magazines, and sometimes also for books. And our last big project was a comic, actually. But we also did once one animation film together and tried to put the illustration style into an animation film, or it was in the beginning, or originally it was a music video, but this was the so-called nobody's fool, and later we call it Over You because it was another version with another music then. It was because we had a kind of struggle with this musicians in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning it was a job, and in the end it was just a short film.
I saw that in some shorter film you are like something that maybe is the the thought of every animator about how to represent walking people in animation. There are a lot of walk that is, I think, is like an obsession for some animators also, because walking is not something always simple. So you did a couple of things that are really masterpiece about how to represent the walking of somebody. I was thinking when I was watching this film, I was thinking about Ryan Larkin film in
Oh, really?
Canada in the 50s. Yeah.
But my first film, my graduation project, was more about walk cycles.
Yeah.
It was just in principle the whole film is about walk cycles. Yeah, my first.
Yeah, but also in Germania Wurst, you have this scene of the soldier that
Oh yes,
step
okay.
by step they become with
Yeah.
one leg, without
Oh,
one leg.
yeah.
So also this is something that is coming back.
Yeah. Okay.
No?
Yeah, these soldiers, the soldiers in these grown-up children, and I know, yeah. Walk cycles is a little bit. Walk cycles are one of my obsessions. Yes.
So we come to your, is it the last film, Kaput, no?
Kaput was my last animation film. After that, I did only one, more or less. I tried to make a kind of short experimental film. It was also meant as a music video, but Kaput was the last animation, yes. Mm.
Okay, it was quite successful, very interesting film, very touching film. I think you did a great job because, I mean, it's not always easy to approach something that is a storytelling, a real storytelling about somebody that was in some ways suffering, because
Yes.
they were not really, the two women are interviewed were not living in the best period of their life in prison. For also, I mean, we can talk about politics, but in any case, so I think that you did something great, because in some way you were, it seems that you were taking a distance. At the
Yes.
same time, this way to taking the distance, put the film and yourself and also the audience completely inside.
Okay.
I don't know if you feel the same, or if you were feeling this. And I think this is maybe the, in my opinion, is like the best quality of the film is this. I mean, you can say very good, very nice drawing, this abstract part, but really in general, it is something that, because I saw several films with witness of people talking about their experience in prison, or they were even in jail when they were interviewer, and it is always like I make a sort of sketch of the person and talking, and some reference to what he or she is talking about. But in your case, it's really something, for me, is one of the best Anidoc ever made in the history of animation. So because you really have no, you can touch different plants. You can be inside and outside, and I don't know how to explain better.
Yeah, for me it was really. I really appreciate what you say, because when we started this project, I was really afraid I just thought, how can I deal with these interviews? It was so strong, and on the one hand I thought, okay, you can use these interviews as a kind of podcast, radio podcast, or something like that.
Yeah,
It
it's
would
already
work
made.
without anything. Yeah?
You don't need visual things. Yeah.
You don't need something. So and then I thought, okay, the danger to to make something stupid, or to make something which is not good enough to match this level of these interviews, or this emotional and disturbing content of these interviews. This danger was really high for me, and that's why I thought I just can mess it up. So and then I try to be very distant, exactly like you said. I try to be as distant as possible, and and I tried to make something very abstract in a way, because these two persons, these two women, were more like they stand, or the whole story of these two women stand for so many other women, as a symbol, or as a kind of, yeah, more than only this individual story. Yeah? So it was more than only their biography. So, and that's why I had not from the beginning, I never thought about showing a portrait or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So if I remember well, you were involved in the film after the interview was already made.
Yeah, one interview was I was involved in one of these interviews,
okay.
but the other one was without me. Yes.
In any case, you met both the women, and so in case you wanted to make sketches of their faces, you could do it.
Yeah, I could, but it was for me. I've never thought about that actually.
Yeah.
Because it was clear also from the side of the authors, it was a film about this prison and about this situation, and not about these women as individuals. So we try to show the structure of these of this forced labor and of this situation in the prison, and especially initially the whole film was more about this strange problem that these women in the prison worked for some companies who sold their products into the West, and most of them were there because they wanted to escape into the Western part. So
yeah,
so
yeah, they could put themselves in a box and of the things that were doing toward the West side. Yeah, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
In some ways, also exploitation of work, but I mean, in theory, it's better to have. I don't know. This is because I think that the same firm they were working for are now accused to use workers that are really cheap from the east part of the world, children. So, I mean, it's always the same story, no?
Yes, of course. That's why I think it works, because it's a symbol for. It could be also a symbol for all these other unjust situations in other parts of the world. It was not only about this very special situation. But
yeah, that in some ways, like a sort of contemporary situation, and at the same time, it's part of a story that is already finished. I mean, the DDR story is the sort of portrait of the past, that is the past of Germany, and also yours, because you are coming from the east side, no, from the DDR. When you were born, was DDR, no, and I think it's very important because this keeps another part of the memory alive. Because
for me it was important exactly because of that. On the one hand, it was part of my own biography. On the other hand, it was exactly the opposite of my own biography, because I was not in this situation. I was on the other side. I was very young. I went to school and everything without any. I was not touched by these problems. So I had no friends who were in prison or something. And that's why I wanted to do this film, just because I want to, I don't know, I want to show my own appreciation to all these people who did this. and to went to prison because, or were imprisoned because of they were in a kind of very small or very not even a kind of resistance, just more or less a resistance by accident or something.
Yeah. So you are your origin is on the south part of Saxony, something like this, close to,
yes, it was close to Dresden,
to Czech border, no? And
yes.
and when you were as you were around 20 when the wall break down, no? So
I was okay, 20, 21.
so
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
already a young adult. You were not
Yes,
a
yeah,
child. You
yeah.
already were coming on in East Berlin sometimes, or was something that was to come to East Berlin to visit people or to visit the town? It happened
Yeah.
to you before that the wall break down? I mean,
Yeah,
was
it was
usual to
always
visit.
like a tourist. I was
Yeah.
there like a
Okay.
tourist, and the wall was a part of this um, tourist program that
Yeah.
you
Like the
went to the
western part
wall.
of Europe going to Berlin, like
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was scary, and it was for us. It was just we were, of course, we were curious. What's on the other side? It was like watching to the moon. We had no chance to visit the other side, the western part. Yeah.
yeah, that's very
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, unfortunately, we don't have this situation now. Also, if this kind of situation are in several parts of the world. So, Volker, what are you? Which are your activities now, main activities, and if you are planning to do something related to animation soon,
Yeah.
or you have something in project?
Yeah, we have a new project with the same guys from Kaput.
Ah,
We will do another film during the next 1 or 2 years. Yeah, we are just in the very beginning. Yeah.
what is about? You can tell, or is a secret?
Yeah, I don't know if I am allowed to tell
Okay,
it.
is it
So
documentary or it's a
it's
sort of okay?
it's more or less the same
Okay,
structure.
okay,
We have an interview, and we will find some pictures according to this interview topic, but it is a completely other subject now.
okay. I don't want to know. I don't want to keep. I want you keep your secret. You don't have problem with your colleagues of project.
Yeah.
So okay, Volker. Thank you very much. Uh,
Thank you. Yeah.
I remind to the people that are following us that you can find some link of the film we were talking with Volker after the in this Animaphix streaming experience, so you can watch or rewatch the beautiful film, very interesting film made by Volker in his recent past. Okay,
Hey,
thank you,
thank
Volker.
you.
Bye. Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Ciao.